The final round of Swiss is upon us here at GP Copenhagen. Hello my friends, welcome along to live coverage of GP Copenhagen. We are rounding out the Swiss with round 14, here round 15 I should say. And on your screen, Simon, correct me if I'm wrong, a straight-up win-in for top 8 here with between Martin Dang and David Karpf.
Exactly. If they win, they are in for sure. Actually, with a really good position in the Swiss as well because of the bunch of draws. I have them finish, the winner of this match finishing first or second after Swiss. But they are not able to draw because their tiebreakers don't hold up.
Beaumat Courier kicking things off now for David Karpf, and this really is a bit of a matchup of the ages here between White-Blue Control and Red-Black Chain Whirler. I really have enjoyed the position that White-Blue has occupied throughout this tournament. It's really put in a strong showing. Now, admittedly, coverage this weekend has had we've deliberately tried to avoid Chain Whirler decks being played on camera, but it hasn't had the huge impact on the tournament that we expected from previous weeks, Simon.
Yeah, actually a lot of players that are known for playing red decks have chosen to go with control decks this weekend. Javier Dominguez, one of them. And it's actually kind of understandable if you see how often blue-white control manages to stabilize in game one. And then they only have to win one of the two sideboarded games. It is a bit more difficult against a bunch of duresses, but oftentimes they come out ahead.
Dang had a good long think about what he wanted to do there, but ultimately shipped the turn after playing his third land. So that leaves Karpf an opportunity here to push forward. The Beaumat Courier, which Karpf obviously bold, unafraid, and he's playing them in the main, even in the face of Goblin Chain Whirlers, and he's being rewarded for that because it is one of the best cards in this matchup.
Yeah, and actually, there are almost no more players that are not playing Beaumat Couriers. It's just too strong of a card, so it is the default card for these red-black decks.
Seal Away, however, is going to get rid of this Beaumat Courier, and those cards that are exiled are going to stay exiled as well. So that's 3 cards off the top of Karpf's library that he's not going to see. Goblin Chain Whirler in hand here, as you can see, opting to cast a Beaumat Courier instead of it, and that just goes to show the priorities that Karpf has heading into facing off against White-Blue Control. Let's see what's up now as we see the Canyon Slough cycled away by Karpf, looking to play a bit of a slower game. He knows that he can't hope to curve out with the hand that he's drawn and really punish his opponent.
Once again, a little bit of a greedy cycle there, because had Karpf not just drawn an untapped land, he wouldn't have been able to cast a 4-drop here.
Does have a Phoenix in hand by the look of things. Oh no, it's going to be Goblin Chain Whirler instead. Has the Phoenix, so playing around counter magic here, Simon.
Doesn't want the Phoenix to get syncopated, maybe.
Goblin Chain Whirler resolves, a little more than a 3-3 for now. Here's blink of an eye on the Beaumat Courier. And Dang also, respect where respect's due. The recognizing that the one-mana mailbag is definitely a key card in this matchup.
Yeah, and actually David hasn't accomplished much this game. And also I was a bit surprised by his sequencing, going for the second Beaumat Courier when he didn't really have pressure on the board. Maybe he knows something I don't. Maybe he can play a much longer game than I was expecting. But it's getting trickier already with Settle the Wreckage and Teferi.
And the problems are mounting up for David Karpf, who is holding quite a number of dead removal spells. I think he's got an Abrade in addition to that unlicensed Disintegration. And here is Martin Dang with a Settle the Wreckage. That's perfect stuff for the Dane here. Pro Tour champion, Simon, one of your compatriots in that regard, winning Pro Tour Dragons of Tarkir back in 2015. And looking to lock up a slot at this GP's top 8 on home soil as well, Martin Dang. He's from Aarhus. University town, about 3 hours away from Copenhagen. Good friend of mine lives there. Lovely little town to visit, but of course, it will empty your wallet with €15 cups of coffee. But that's just the price you pay living in Denmark. Here is Rekindling Phoenix, and that's a nice recursive threat against the white-blue deck.
Yeah, the problem is often it does get exiled by Seal Away, Cast Out, or Settle the Wreckage. So you don't actually get the benefit of putting it back into play that often.
So Calf is going to get in with the 4-3. We'll see what Dang has in response, and it's just going to be another settle. But Calf is going to abrade his own creature here in order to keep the Phoenix around. A highly unintuitive play, Simon, but effectively what he's doing here is trading an abrade for the settle rather than the Phoenix.
Mm-hmm. And that's great, actually. You can now, with the elemental token, you can threaten to bring back the Phoenix. If the elemental token dies, you can still just reanimate a Bormite Courier from your graveyard.
So let's see what's next. For Martin Dang, going to ship. The elemental token pops off. Back comes Forks from the ashes. Or Hedwig, perhaps, seeing as it's an owl. In any case, he's got a 4-3 beater. Going to get across for 4. Dang with another response. Is this a third set of the wreckage? I can see it in hand. Do you snap it off here, Si?
Yeah, why not? I mean, you tried it before. Why not try to exile the Phoenix again? Maybe Dang is now hoping to get David to overextend a little bit. By not casting the Settle the Wreckage this turn, he certainly represented that he doesn't have it, because he fired off the first two very quickly, very early.
It's going to be rewarded as well if he can get both of these recursive threats in one fell swoop. We'll see exactly what he wants to do. On top of this Settle the Wreckage, Simon, he's also got an Essence Scatter. So it's looking pretty good for Dang keeping the board clear. And if I were Calf, I mean, I'm attacking with both creatures, right? Oh, he's going to play carefully here.
I was expecting a careful attack by David, simply given how he had played from the very start. He wasn't trying to maximize damage at all, but always making sure that he gave Dang at most a 2-for-1. And in this particular case, you cannot allow both of your recursive threats to die.
Heart of Kieran's going to get disallowed now. Back to Dang, who is holding Settle the Wreckage, Essence Scatter, and a new card off the top. I thought I saw a Blink of an Eye in his hand as well. Not 100% sure there. Nonetheless, he's got interaction, and man, this is good stuff from David Calf, playing very carefully. Going to coax out that seal away. So Dang still with the third Settle in hand, unless I'm mistaken. Is that a Blink of an Eye or an Essence Scatter in hand?
I can't see it from here, but we will find out very soon. Another interesting choice by David, who just does not go for the unlicensed disintegration on Scrapheap Scrounger in response. That would have actually enabled him to get one of these Scroungers back from the graveyard. His reasoning is probably that Rekindling Phoenix is the better threat, so it's better to attack with the Phoenix and kill it off.
Leave up the unlicensed, leave up the removal spell for his own creature there.
Yeah.
Yep.
For his better creature.
Yeah. So cycling away Canyon Slough, Dang says, yep, you got it, my friend. Draws a Goblin Chain Whirler. David Calf's having a real problem drawing cards off the top of his library, putting them into his hand so that they line up with the rest of them. I think he needs to do the old Xbox 180 on his deck there. In comes the 4-3. We'll see if Dang wants to snap off this Settle, and yep, we're going to see this now. And in response?
Unlicensed disintegration.
This is the play that we were talking about here. See if David Calf is going to snap it off. Yeah, I mean, that card's essentially blank. It can maybe snipe a Gearhulk or something, but generally speaking, you got to make hay while the sun shines. Weird, certainly a weird use for these cards, but a worthy one all the same. Yeah,
and there might not even be a Gearhulk in Martin Dang's deck. So if you're holding the unlicensed disintegration, who knows if you're going to have targets.
Goblin Chainwhirler comes down now as a 3-3. Once again, not getting too much value out of that trigger. But all the same, a respectable threat, especially considering that Dang is at 4, and we've got the owl coming back from the bin. So let's see what Dang's up to, and if he's got a way forward now with 3 Settle the Wreckages in the bin. It's not looking good. Really pleased with the way that Calf has managed to ensure that his recursive, powerful anti-control threats have continued to get their work done.
Yeah, and it's going down to the last card, really. He's using all of his creatures, all of his mana, all of his removal spells, and if he had been less careful at any point in the game, he wouldn't be in such a good position as he is now.
Well, play well, get rewarded, and that's what's happening with David Calf at the moment. Dang on 7 and having to take things pretty slowly. A Teferi in hand for him. We'll see if he's looking to deploy the powerful 5-drop.
3-drop, you mean?
Excuse me, 3-drop, yes, of course. I can't believe this card is being played in Modern above Jace the Mind Sculptor. I mean, I can believe it. It's just, if you had said, when there was the huge hullabaloo about Jace rejoining Modern earlier on in the year, and he said, guys, chill out. Just calm your farm, because in a couple of months there's going to be a 5-drop blue-white gold Planeswalker printed in Dominaria, and it's going to eclipse Jace completely in blue-white control decks. Mate, I would have told you Tell Your Story walking. I wouldn't have believed a word.
Nobody would have believed you.
Nobody would have believed you. But this card is really getting it done. Now we see Teferi tuck away the elemental there, but that comes at the cost of his life, unfortunately, as the Goblin Chainwhirler gets rid of him. But it's a counter now for
heroes make sacrifices.
They do, yes. It's very true. Scrapheap Scrounger, exiling the Rekindling Phoenix.
And that's what I was talking about earlier. The fact that the dealing with the egg still leaves the Rekindling Phoenix in the graveyard for Scrapheap Scrounger. So actually a really nice interaction here. And David might have played this perfectly to win a game 1 against Woodbite Blue Control.
And Martin Dang, with a blink of an eye in hand by the looks of things, and was could have saved himself the 3 damage and prevented that Chandra from being lethal, but ultimately just wasn't able to play around all the threats that Carp was bringing to bear. Something I think it's really important to talk about, Simon, we've touched upon this already throughout the weekend, is the 4-drop threats that come out of the red deck, because of course they attack from so many different angles, and it's very, very difficult to cover all of the bases that Hazoret the Fervent, Goblin Chainwhirler, Chandra Torch of Defiance, and Rekindling Phoenix, all of them at 3 and 4, they all provide, even Glorybringer at 5, they all attack on different axes, and it's very difficult to have a deck that answers all of them cleanly. Yeah,
and I think White-Blue is actually great at answering most of these threats, especially now that Heart of Kirin is getting a bit less popular. We're not seeing the 3 or 4 Heart of Kirin lists that we saw at the Pro Tour last week. Instead, for example, David is playing only 2 of the powerful vehicle, instead managing his resources in a way that he's just putting out threat after threat after threat. And this is basically the classic school of Magic. How do you beat a control deck with such powerful answers?
David Kraft has a very diverse suite of removal as well, Simon. He's got a Cut to Ribbons in addition to a Magma Spray, both as singletons. Gone down to 3 Abrades and Glorybringer as well, just as a one-of in the main. Got 2 copies of that in the board. So he's definitely ready to hustle against whichever creatures opponents are bringing to bear. 3 copies of Unlicensed Disintegration. It's more than we usually see in these decks as well.
Yeah, it's an interesting list. I still think that this game 1 was mostly won by his play skill rather than like individual card choices. But after sideboarding, it gets really interesting. He actually has a Swamp in his sideboard, and we could see him bring that in. Not because he needs black sources as well for Duress and Doomfall, but I think mostly because he wants to put more expensive cards into his deck after sideboarding.
And there's another 4-drop that we need to talk about as well in these red decks, and it's not just red decks that it's appearing in, is Khan, Scion of Urza. This guy has had quite a couple of weeks, it's fair to say, but still immensely powerful and still ready to get it done in Standard, especially in these post-board games.
Oh, absolutely. Another card that's very difficult for Control to handle. I still think I think the jury is out. I think Teferi is the better Planeswalker, even though it's gold colored. But if you're Martin Dang, after you really want to win that game 1, because after sideboarding, it is just a tough matchup.
And the reasons for that, of course, are, we see black in these lists, not just for Scrapheap Scrounger, but for many sideboard cards. And we've talked about it before. Let's mention it again. Duress. It's just one of the best sideboard cards in the format.
Yep. Plus 2 Doomfalls. That makes it so much harder to resolve that Teferi, for example. And just these haste threats, Planeswalkers, and so on.
It's a rough matchup. We'll see if Dang, the Pro Tour champion from 2015, is able to pull together 2 wins on the trot here, because David Karpf sitting pretty at 1 game in his favour.
Short comment on Dang's list. He has 1 main deck creature, which is a Walking Ballista. An interesting choice. I definitely haven't seen that in other lists before. Pretty cool way of having a creature threat that can ping Planeswalkers, can put pressure on the opponent, can deal with small creatures on the opposing side, and still it's not it's still always doing something, even if it gets targeted by an abrade or an unlicensed disintegration.
And that's a great point, Simon. The fact that this card is essentially a split card, right? It can be a big threat. We saw Dang tap out for a massive walking ballista in a previous game. Unfortunately, Pima got countered. But, you know, towards the end of the game, it can serve as an extra win condition. But in the early to mid game, if you just play a ballista, ping down a creature, knock off a planeswalker, or even just, you know, get some amount of value out of it. I like it as an inclusion. It's a weird one.
It's definitely interesting. I think, for example, you would have to convince me why you would want the ballista over a Gearhulk, for example.
Okay, that's a fair point. Just a bit concerned about you using the word interesting, because that's generally the euphemism we use instead of garbage. I don't think that's what you're trying to say here.
No, absolutely not.
No.
It's just definitely not. It wasn't on my radar that was even a viable option.
Unorthodox. Let's have a look now and see what's going on in the opening hands of these two players. David Karpf has a bit of a loose one, but he's going to keep it all the same with the Bomat Courier on turn 1. Another land off the top. Spire of Industry, really?
Yep, 2 Spire of Industry.
Just play Ether Hub, dude. What's going on?
1 Ether Hub.
Why would you play Spire of Industry? Seems horrific if you wanted to cast Goblin Chainwaller on turn 3. You've got to have Bomat Courier or Scrap Heap Scrounger.
Yep.
I mean, Ether Hub just guarantees it. Okay, well, anyway, he's the one who's 12-2 at a GP, so what do I know? Here's Bomat Courier coming across now. Martin Dang, already the recipient of some Royal Mail. And we'll see what his response is. Seal away, okay. Once again, Dang really showing respect to the little 1-1. And it's Heart of Kiran as the follow-up. Untargetable by Seal away.
David's hand is atrocious. Okay, it just got a lot better, but he was holding Unlicensed Disintegration and 4 lands. So if he hadn't top decked his Scrounger here, he wouldn't have been able to crew the Heart.
Well, let's see what Dang has to say about this Scrounger, because if he's got a counterspell, looks like he doesn't, then he's in good shape. Well, away goes the Heart of Kiran thanks to the Singleton Gideon's Reproach, a card that has just sort of made its way out of the draft chaff drawer. And Sorcerer's Spyglass.
Yeah, if Karpf reveals a Chandra here, that's probably the name. Now it's close. Now it's between Scrap Heap Scrounger, because there's already one on the battlefield, and still just taking Chandra because you know there are a bunch of Chandras in Karpf's deck after sideboarding.
Read 'em and weep, says David Karpf.
Yeah. No activated abilities on my lands.
Yeah. What are you going to do about it, huh? What are you going to name Mountain? You're going to name Spire of Industry or Unlicensed Disintegration? You're going to name any of the interesting cards that are in my hand right now. So let's see what Matt Dang's next play is. It's going to be a Seal away on that Scrap Heap Scrounger. So Chandra named by the Sorcerer Spyglass. Dang moving into top gear. I like his position, and I think he's in a good spot now, because Karpf's going to have to string together some nice little draws. That's step 1. That's
quite some top decks. From having only land and a worthless removal spell, drawing Scrounger into Phoenix is definitely a good start, but he needs more than that even.
Dang's going to buy himself a little bit of time here as we see Teferi tuck away the Phoenix. Karpf unsure as to how deep it goes. We don't often see the minus ability on Teferi, kind of the emergency button. Land off the top here for Karpf, so he is holding a hand that at this stage looks a lot more like a foot.
But he has great top decks here. If he didn't find anything. If he finds a Chain Roller or a Bomat Courier.
Actually, yeah, either of them would have been huge, but this Teferi now beginning to get out in front, and if Dang has a counterspell for the Phoenix that's on top of his opponent's library, then he's going to be in a good spot. Finds a Glacial Fortress for the turn, untaps his lands. That cycle was essentially free there. So, rekindling Phoenix. Karpf with no choice really than to just slam and then jam. And Martin Dang, is he holding nothing? Cast out. We saw Martin Dang have some pretty problematic piles of enchantment-based removal in previous matches. Doesn't look like he's fixed up his enchantment game here, Simon.
No, but he's making my favorite play in Standard.
Oh, ladies and gentlemen.
The hasty Memorial to Genius.
The instant activation of Memorial to Genius. It's incredible. It's quite incredible. David Karp can't believe it.
And we are still in his end step because he's making the maximum use out of Teferi here.
So, draw 2. And why do it in the end step there?
Well, he was floating one land. He had only one tapped land, so he tapped another one.
Uh-huh.
And then that's why you only see 4 tapped lands.
Oh, I see. He didn't have to pay the full 5. Smart stuff from Dang there. Keeps up those two glacial fortresses.
And you could actually see how much worse unlicensed disintegration was compared to Abrade, because David was not able to kill his own Phoenix in response to the cast out. Had he had an Abrade instead, he would have had exactly the mana to at least get an egg token.
So important, really, when you head into Standard, to consider how well your removal spells line up against your own creatures. You know, am I going to be able to kill my own creature with this spell? You should be asking yourself that whenever you put one into
How mana efficient is it going to be?
How mana efficient is it going to... You know, if I've got 6 lands, do I want this unlicensed integration because I can't kill my own 4-drop? You know, these are the questions that high-level pros are asking themselves every day. Good to see Martin Dang on that double-decker bus now with the enchantments. I'd love to see just one neat pile of all of them because, of course, Black-Red, no way to remove those enchantments as far as I know. I'm not playing any Chaos Warps in Calf's deck, so there's no need. It's just taking a lot of real estate.
One thing that you do have to be careful about is the Sorcerer's Spyglass, because that is certainly not a card that's guaranteed to stick around. And then if your opponent casts a Chandra, do you actually let it resolve and trust that Spyglass to hold, or are you a bit more concerned?
Because, of course, a Braid would then unlock the Chandra. But I think you just have to let the Chandra... I mean, that's why you played the Spyglass, right, is to prevent it from being a problem in the first place.
Well, it would be weird.
Mate. Memorial to Genius.
Second time in the same game.
Unbelievable. Look at this. So Martin Dang activating Memorial to Genius the turn that he cast it thanks to Teferi, Hero of Dominaria.
And that's why he's 12-2.
And Simon Gertzen, wow, his face is just like, you know, the emoji with the heart eyes? Ladies and gentlemen, I wish I could snap a picture of Simon Gertzen right now because that's what he's looking like. So huge plays here from Martin Dang.
He's actually not going to activate it this turn.
Boo. Boo.
I take everything back.
Now he's got those. Now he's that red face with the horns and the angry, like the little demon angry face. Yeah. David Karp, what are you doing, mate? After all of those full art Amonkhet basics, you bring out this trash from your sideboard? I'm unimpressed. And he's done it again. No, it's an Ippy Reveal it. Never mind. Okay, never mind. he's Memorial to Genius.
Untap my Ibn Rivulet milieu.
Getcha. No, not quite. 2 more cards off the top, though, for Dang. Going to untap some basics this time around. Does he have to discard as well? Okay. An embarrassment of riches for the Danes here.
Okay, David. Your opening hand didn't offer much, and it didn't get better from there.
Check out all these, says Martin Dang. You got a duress? I ain't mind.
So,
Lyra Dawnbringer, Essence Scatter, and a bunch of lands going to be cycled away this in the irrigated farmland here.
David is getting valuable information here, especially the Lyra. He now knows that unlicensed disintegration might have been the right call over a Braid. On the other hand, there is Sorcerer's Spyglass to consider, and as we saw earlier, the mana efficiency as well.
In comes the D12, now up to 7 loyalty for Teferi. We don't want to tax the mental capacity of our viewers too much by having 2 dice on Teferi, Hero of Dominaria. We know that, there's a lot of stuff to keep track of, as it is. And Dang discards again. Let's see what's up now, as Teferi continues his journey upstairs, up to 9 loyalty as well. Not something you see every day, Simon.
No, I hope we see an ultimate soon, so that Martin can get to work on those lands.
And Ether Meltdown. David Karp not even really putting up much of an effort here. He's just, running down the clock. That isn't a winning strategy here. He has game 3 to win.
I agree. This is.
Pack it up, Davey, old son. Pack it up, big fella. You got nothing to gain by doing this. Here's Heart of Kieran going to be. Okay.
Let's exile some permanents.
So, draw X, exile X permanents, where X is 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11. And Martin Dang very close to the flawless victory here. David Calf packs up all of these cards.
It's not a scoop.
No, it's not. It is not a concession just yet.
Don't mistake it for a scoop.
He's still in it. He's got that. He's got that Spire of Industry. Anything could happen. Anything could happen, ladies and gentlemen. Martin Dang could have a brain fart and forget how to play Magic. He could accidentally uninstall Magic offline. Anything could happen, including Lyra Dawnbringer smashing face here. David Calf losing a permanent every time Martin Dang draws a card, and Dang goes to discard. Nope, okay, no, I haven't got enough cards. He says, give me one more. Just one more off the top, please. Please and thank you. And Martin Dang going for the flawless victory. Unfortunately, Calf does have cards in hand. If only he had a Mind Rot effect here, Simon. And unless David Calf can find and cast a copy of The Cheese Stands Alone, he's in big trouble. Oh, look at this. What a madman. David Calf. Fighting to the bitter end.
I have no words, Riley. I blame Reed Duke, for
just the never
establishing the never concede.
That Iron Man never concede mentality. Mountain go. Just 2 lands away from casting this chain wheeler, buddy. Exile that mountain. Float a red. David Calf. But the thing is, we're having a good deal here, Simon. Let's talk about the tactical applications of what Calf is doing. There's no reason for him to be playing Magic right now.
No, I think he has all the information he needs, and especially he knows that Martin is not going to show him anything else.
Okay. We may have seen... There are 2 outcomes that are possible here. We've seen either a Game 2 handshake, which is
happens
odd.
Occasionally.
Happens occasionally. Sometimes you get very earnest opponents who do that. Or we've got these players IDing.
And this is actually a possibility. You can ID because they are so close to making the top 8.
It looks like, it looks like they've ID'd here. We're getting confirmation from the floor. These players have intentionally drawn. And that, of course, is something that can and does happen as we head towards the spiky end of these tournaments, towards the race for the top 8 there.
So Martin Dang was about to win Game 2. Mm-hmm. The match took some while, and then both of these players decided at 1-on-1 to take the intentional draw. So
you can see Richard Hagen, the right arm of Richard Hagen as he stands just slightly off screen here. And Simon, I understand we've got an update now from Rich. So Rich, the draw there down in the feature match area.
Just to explain again, because obviously the two of you are in a position that having to speculate with some sense of what's going on. But these two came to the conclusion that depending on results elsewhere in the room, they would be in a position potentially to ID. Mm-hmm. And so we're obviously going to show some of those matches that may be relevant. So we're not going to speculate any further about exactly what led to this ID. But they believe that in doing so, they are safely into the top 8. So at that point, we will put in our back pocket that Martin Dang and David Calf believe they've successfully navigated round 15. And we'll head into other match play for you, and we'll see how those matches might have impacted that decision.
Okay, thanks very much for the update, Rich, there. And, of course, more information as it comes to hand as to how those things are panning out. Simon, we are going to go to a break. On the other side of it, however, we do have Time Walk Magic. I want to talk more about this matchup that we've seen. I expect to see it a little bit more throughout just the top 8 of this tournament.
Throughout the format.
Throughout the format, indeed. So we've got a lot to get across. But right now, we are going to go to some ads. Stick around on the other side of it. Time Walk Magic coming your way from GP Copenhagen. Welcome back to live coverage of GP Copenhagen. On the tournament floor, it's me, Riley Knight, and him, Simon Gertzen. Great to have you along as we head towards our top 8. We are going to get underway with some time walk magic here, Simon. Let's get to it, see how things shook out between Tim Koennke and Martin Muller. Now, this one has an interesting texture to it. Simon, can you walk us through what's going on with this match and how it may impact our top 8?
Yeah, we actually see on the right Martin Muller, who is basically the best of the 11-3 players when you look at tiebreakers.
Mm-hmm.
That is not great because you're forced to play, but it means that if you win, you have a really good shot at making it into the top 8 as the lone 11-3 player. But of course, if Tim Koennke wins, or even he needs a win. I mean, they're not going to draw, obviously. Then Tim is in for sure.
So Koennke with everything to play for here. Muller, the Glensleeve Siphoner. He's playing in these in the main deck. That's a bold move, being punished by a shock rather than a Goblin Chain Whirler. That indicates that Koennke doesn't have the Chain Whirler in hand. He's playing mono red, and that means that he also has some X1s of his own in the form of Earthshaker Kenra. Muller finally recognises that forest was tapped the wrong way, fixes that up.
Martin Muller, one of the few players at the tournament, actually, or at least in day 2, on Black-Green Constrictor, and, well, he's been doing great with it. It's not easy in a field full of chain rollers, but he is doing well. Jeff Cunningham is doing well on Magic Online, the trophy leader with Black-Green Constrictor. Mm-hmm. So the jury is still out if this is actually a great choice in Standard, the best choice in Standard, or maybe not very well positioned.
Here's a 5-mana 8/8 trample, and outside of an Abrade, Koennke's going to have a difficult time dealing with it. Martin Muller, as you said, has been having a good time with his deck. We saw an absolutely ridiculous moment. I'm sure it's clipped at on Twitch.
The quad Constrictor?
4 Whining Constrictors and a Verdurous Gearhulk. He put 5 counters on 4 creatures. It was insane. Get across it there. We just about lost our minds in the booth here, Simon, didn't we?
Yeah, absolutely. I was screaming at the top of my lungs.
I played it pretty cool.
By the way, Tim Koennke is on mono red, so no Abrades anywhere to be seen.
Really?
Well, I would be very surprised.
He's playing 4 copies of...
I'm sorry, no unlicensed.
No, yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, Abrade is essentially his only out to
of course.
Gearhulk.
That's what I was trying to say.
But no disintegrations. You're right. Does impact the range of the removal for the mono red decks, and we typically see Fight with Fire in the board of these lists because it's their only answer to something like a Lyra Dawnbringer.
Exactly, and a nice way to win out of nowhere against control decks that have cast too many Settle the Wreckages.
Bomat career now for Koennke after having deployed this Hazoret the Fervent. Muller, however, just getting in there. His 8/8 trample getting busy now.
This is not looking like a race he's going to win, although Vraska's Contempt could swing the race quite a bit.
I think it was a Ravenous Chupacabra in hand here for Martin Muller. Or it may have... Excuse me, that may have been the Vraska's Contempt I saw. He's got a Walking Ballista for definites.
Tim with a very defensive line here. He doesn't have a block, I assume. There's also a Chupacabra in Martin's hand.
So plenty of ways to remove creatures from Koennke's board here. Martin Muller at the moment, he is just the king of large creature town as he gains another energy, goes up to 6. Keeping track of it very handily with both a die and pen and paper. Away goes Goblin Chain Whirler, and Koennke's seen enough already. Wow, that was a pretty aggressive concession there.
Yeah, but I think the writing was on the wall. There was an 8/8 that Tim didn't have an answer to.
Draws an Abrade
maybe
next
one
turn.
more. Maybe one more draw step. I agree.
I mean, if he rips an Abrade next turn, I don't think he's out of it. In any case, that's the way that it goes, unless we've got a time machine, because of course this is Time Walk Magic. It's not going to change. And Martin Muller snapping off that Fatal Push in the face of an Earthshaker Kenra. Fatal Push hasn't shone in recent weeks.
No, it's almost a result of Chain Roller being so dominant that there aren't too many cheap creatures you can get with it. And Heart of Kirin is becoming a bit less popular as well.
Chainy Dubs comes across, knocks Muller down to 16. And the follow-up is a Hazoret the Fervent. So Koennke curving out nicely And Muller, without a play for that turn. That's rough stuff from him. He needs a Vraska's Contempt to stem the bleeding, you would think. Some kind of interaction anyway here, Simon.
Yeah, what is this draw?
What does this keep? And a Glory Bringer as well. Tim Kirk has just gone 2, 3, 4, 5. Muller under the gun. And what's in his hand?
He has a bunch of spells, so they must be 4 and 5 mana plays.
Okay, all right, this makes sense. Here's the Vraska's Contempt. That's going to stem the bleeding, as we said. Muller takes a grand total of 1 damage. Hazard the Fervent, not able to attack. Another card that's fallen off recently, Simon, just due to the increased mana curve of many red decks.
Oh, and that's a risky line by Martin. Now a Braid is just going to be backbreaking.
Eggs meet basket, says Martin Muller. Takes them down to the singles dance, Mr. Eggs and Miss Basket, and they hit it off real nice. But if Tim Kernker has a hunger for some breakfast, Lightning Strike upstairs, Arncrop Crasher is going to prevent the Verdurous Gearhulk from blocking.
Take 11, go to 1.
Go to 1. And Martin Muller.
Good luck, have fun.
Yeah, I don't think there's much that's going to get him out of this. I hope he enjoys this very last turn of this game of Magic. Here's an Adventurous Impulse. Another... Oh, hello. That's huge. Verdurous Gearhulk. If Tim Kernker had already been under a little bit of pressure, just the attack for 12 out of nowhere.
That would be cool. Had Martin had one more turn to attack.
But as it is, he has to pack it up, and we are going to game number 3. Tim Kernker handily equalising things between the two of them there. So 1-1 as we go towards the final game in this match between Tim Kernker and Martin Muller. This is round number 15 of GP Copenhagen. It's great to have your company, of course. And we are going to name our top 8 before too much longer. Llanowar Elves on turn number 1, exactly when you want it, off a Blooming Marsh. And here is a Winding Constrictor. And generating handily 2 energy, one of which is immediately cast a card to spend to play another Llanowar Elves. Now, a Chain Whirler's looking pretty bad here.
Yep, as usual when you're playing Llanowar Elves. That's what you're afraid of, but there could be a Verdurous Gearhulk to save Muller.
I think it's one of the cards that you can excuse playing in this standard format at the moment, just due to the fact that you'll often get the value off of the Llanowar Elves very early, right? Something like a Glensleeve Siphoner Cannon will die before it draws a card to the Chain Whirler, whereas a Llanowar Elves on turn 1 will often pay you back with enough mana to justify its inclusion before it dies.
Yeah, we will see if that actually holds true here or not.
So, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know if you're across what's happening here at the GP Copenhagen Convention Center, but there is an Inception-like freight train barreling its way along. We do apologise for that audio nonsense you may have heard off mic there. Seems the train is rolling down the tracks there.
I think that was the sound that Goblin Chain Whirler made when it arrived on the battlefield.
Oh yeah, that's all the chains flying around. Yeah. Fight with Fire taking care of the Walking Ballista. Oh, sorry, the Winding Constrictor. But a Fatal Push now on the Goblin Chain Whirler. That's an awkward one for Kernker. Attack first, I think. I guess Muller could have had something like a Blossoming Defences, though. All right, here's 4 mana now, and it's a Rekindling Phoenix. Back to Muller.
Yeah, we've mentioned this before. It does seem from time to time that Tim is playing a bit loose. Maybe just nervous. Not as experienced of a feature match player as some of the other players here, Martin Deng, Martin Muller, and so on.
Blah. A Braid is going to get rid of that Verdurous Gearhulk. That's gross for Muller, who once again slammed all the eggs into the basket. And Tim Kirk's like, no worries, mate. I'll have an omelette. Thank you very much. Across comes the 4-3 as well. Muller down to 15. 2 cards in hands for the Dane. And what's Kernker up to now?
Looks like Muller is contemplating Ifnir Deadlands on Rekindling Phoenix, but if that's your best play for the turn, it's not good news.
Muller deep in the tank now. And we are going to see the activation of Ifnir Deadlands. That is not a good augury here for Muller's chances, because, of course, it means that he had actual nothing left to do with his turn other than that.
Yeah, Tim actually going to upgrade that shock into a new Phoenix.
Aggressive. I don't see the need to do that.
Well, he was only dealing 2 points of damage, so this way he deals 4.
Sure, but I mean the shock has better targets, surely. Whatever. All right, Tim Kernker, again. Continuing to leverage advantages where he can find them. Here's a Jade Light Ranger. Here's a nice target for a shock. Vraska's Contempt off the top, and Muller's going to keep it there. That's a tidy answer to the Rekindling Phoenix. So Kernker sends it in while he still can, but Muller with a little bit of a safety valve now.
So if Kernker last's card is in a braid, he's in a really good spot. Now he has to top deck.
See what he can find now. Well, there's no immediate windmill slam of this card, so let's go back to Muller now and see what he's got. And again, finds a threat in the form of a Thrashy B. 5 mana, Glory Bringer, so immediately the dragon has its head bitten off, or the dinosaur does, I should say.
Tim going for value immediately here, correctly so, because Müller on 9 life, you weren't even presenting a 2-turn clock.
And Ravenous Chupacabra takes care of the Glory Bringer. Really unsure as to the flavour of that particular interaction. But, Fight with Fire upstairs, just like that, takes it home. Tim Kernker. I thought we were playing Standard, not Dominaria Limited, Simon.
Yeah, and I thought you could only kick it when you're playing against Blue-White Control.
Well, apparently, there we go. We've all been made fools of by Tim Kernker. We are going to move on now. We do have another Time Walk match to show you between Martin Hansen and Leo Linares here. Now, these guys are at 11-3, and their chances of making a top 8 appearance are, well, to put it diplomatically, pretty bloody low indeed.
Yeah, they need some kind of miracle to happen. But, of course, they are still playing for pro points, for prize money.
Mm-hmm. And glory.
Just not the top 8.
Honor.
Just not the top 8 glory.
The respect of their peers.
Yes.
But not the respect that would come with the top 8 at the GP.
Not quite the same level of respect.
No. The second tier of respect. Here's Toolcraft Exemplar. Martin Hansen. Bold as brass. Playing pretty crummy 1-drop in the face of Goblin Chainwheeler. But hey, it's got him this far.
Riley, you and I, we just cannot get behind that, right? We just don't accept that as a viable strategy anymore.
Here's something that I can get behind, however. It is History of Benalia, one of my favourite cards of all time, if not my favourite here. But no, without a shred of irony, Simon, I'm certainly not joking when I say that I don't think you should play Toolcraft Exemplar, and that is why. That is why. It's a very simple 1-2 punch. No, you know what? It's not even. There's no 2 to the punch.
One.
It's 1 punch. It's 1 chain. You don't even need 2 chains to do this. You need 1 chain, and that is that. Get that Toolcraft Exemplar out of here. Simon, we've talked about this throughout the weekend. You just shouldn't play 1 toughness creatures. I have 2 exceptions that I'll allow. I don't know what your list is looking like.
Yeah, I'm okay with 2 or 3.
Okay, what are your 2?
2 cards from the Black-Green deck, Llanowar Elves and Glinsteaf Siphoner, and the third one is Bomard Courier.
All right, fair enough. See, I don't want to play any of those cards outside of Llanowar Elves. I don't want to play Glinsteaf Siphoner in my main deck. I accept Merfolk Branchwalker as the other 1 toughness creature that I think it's fair enough to play in Standard. If you are playing that kind of deck that wants Merfolk Branchwalker.
Which I wouldn't want to.
No. But the mono green, the Steel Leaf Stompy deck has got it done, and it's a good 2-drop in that, insofar as you never down a card in the face of the Chain Whirler.
Karn has come down, so definitely powerful stuff by Martin. He loves his 1-drop, but his curve is looking very strong here.
Maybe it's a psychological game. Plays this rubbish 1-drop, and the opponent thinks, okay, I'm in for an easy ride here, and then all of a sudden, bam, History of Benalia, bam, Karn, Sign of Urza, getcha. So now these Knights are really going to put the hurt on Leo Linares. 8 power, threatening to come across in Magic's finest tribe. Gideon, Scrapheap Scrounger, the 2 options here. Linares gets to put 1 in the hand of Hansen, going to be the Scrapheap Scrounger. And Gideon gets a silver counter. Rather neat bit of design that cards exiled by Karn can then be returned by other copies of Karn. But look at this. Nobly into the fray, swords raised aloft. These glorious heroes coming across for 8 points of damage, Simon.
And Martin with a sweet play there. Fatal Push's Revolt, triggered by his own History of Benalia.
That's very, very tight play there from Martin Hansen. Planned that one out to a T. And these Knights in shining armor, truly living up to their namesakes.
Martin has also used his mana every single turn of the game.
Yeah, it's been really good stuff from him. Wow. Well, Toolcraft example not notwithstanding. He's done a great job. Here's P&LR now for Leo Linares.
Leo doesn't even come close to attacking Karn.
And now a cut, taking care of one of those knights. Unimpressed by that from that knight. He should be getting up, still hopping around on one leg. 'Tis but a scratch. But he is down for the count. Back to Hansen now.
Seems like Leo wants to keep his PR around. It is a threatening card with both of her abilities. Maybe as a way to pressure Karn. I don't love Pia's chances to survive or be very impactful this game though.
So up comes Fatal Push from Karn's little reservoir of extra cards there. Hansen making sure his opponent gets a good look at it. And here's a Heart of Kirin. Follow it up by a Scrap Heap Scrounger to crew it. And it's back to Linares.
And now Martin has the Fatal Push backup, so the Thopter token is not going to take down Karn on its own for sure.
Let's see what the next move is here. P&LR still in play for Linares. He's going to have to add something to the board, though, if he wants to meaningfully contest this game. He's already a fair bit behind. His life total is half of that of his opponent's. And Hansen right now, certainly not in the middle of everywhere. He's way towards the top of everywhere, I have to say. Thopter coming in at Karn. Now, Linares has the option to pump here, Simon.
Yeah, he knows about the Fatal Push, though. Let's see what Martin does. He is threatening a block, gets to block, and Leo just pumps 3 times. That's a reasonable line to take if you want to draw out that Fatal Push. But it's not looking much better because now you've invested your whole turn into pumping a dead creature.
So, that Heart of Kirin comes across the Great Divide. It's been there before and blocks the 1-1. And we're going to see an If Near Deadlands taking down that P&LR. This time around, Linares has nothing, even though P&LR's there going, save me! And for Hansen now, Karn, Scion of Urza. Go! Going to give a little here. But I would say that Hansen's so far ahead as to be already home. He's certainly fired up here.
I think he's just attacking for 9.
Gets in. Leo Linares with nothing to watch over him, and that's going to be that. Martin Hansen, ruthless. Where's the love, Simon?
I don't know.
He just got it done. And now we're moving on to game number 2 between Martin Hansen and Leo Linares. Hansen, this time around, we'll see if he can get another win under his belt with the Knight of Malice. A nice early aggressive start from him.
This is definitely the card you want, a 2/2 first striker on defense against a Scrap Heap Scrounger. If Linares doesn't have the black source to immediately unlicense Disintegration it, so he's going to have to play a bit slower.
P&LR now the play for Linares. We'll see what Martin Hansen has. Maybe he's got a Knight of Grace to go with that Knight of Malice.
Or History of Benalia.
Also very good. Not going to be either of those things by the look of it. It's going to be Doomfall. So the Knight of Malice on its own.
Goblin Chain Whirler, unlicensed Disintegration, and maybe an Aberrate at the back.
So let's see what's going to be exiled here. It's going to be a copy of a Braid. And Linares' hand down to just Chainy Dubs and that unlicensed Disintegration. No attacks with the Knight of Malice.
No, you can tell how much Martin respects Leo's ability to take care of the Knight of Malice. Because if the Knight goes down, suddenly he's looking at 6 points of damage. So he was hoping here that Leo doesn't immediately find a black source.
That Knight of Malice rather handily holding off both the P&LR and the Scrap Heap Scrounger. First strike, very useful in situations like this. But here's Goblin Chain Whirler. That's going to be able to attack through the Knight of Malice. Unless Hansen can find a white permanent. He finds another Knight of Malice. Heart of Kirin also an option for him, although that doesn't do too much.
That's a weak turn.
Yeah, that's not particularly strong there from Martin Hansen. Linares double-checking exactly what's going on with Knight of Malice. Just a 2-2 first strike. Needs a white permanent being controlled by either player to become a 3-2.
Yeah, Leo not helping out there.
Yes. And without, again, the Knight of Grace, Knight of Malice really lost without each other here. So Linares with a relatively safe attack. A first striker and a flyer coming across. Martin Hansen unable to stitch together the blocks that he needs. And Hansen taking his time. Hansen, think about something here. Concealed Courtyard coming into play tapped.
The classic, wait for your 4th land, and then it's tapped. No Karn this turn.
If only. If only, Simon.
No. What else was there? Not much else. Karn would have been very good though.
Khan would have been a nice one, especially with the Knight to hold off potential attacks and the high loyalty of Khan himself, but it's not going to happen this time around.
Really good at crewing Heart of Kirin. It's not the Weatherlight, but he does crew Heart of Kirin very well.
Well, let's see what Linares has to say about this particular situation he finds himself in. He's also in the tank here.
Deep in the tank. This is the longest he's ever waited before attacking. But now that there are 2 knights, is he really considering to attack into 2 first strikers?
Doesn't look like it. Seems like he's thinking about shipping the turn here, Sai.
Or is it maybe whether his Goblin Chainwhirler can still attack? Because it is a bit tricky. Both the double block and the crewing of Heart of Kirin are problematic for him.
And Linares, again, without access to black mana, means that unlicensed disintegration is just rotting away in hand. And here is Khan, the scion of Urza, at long last.
So generally, you give your opponent the weakest cards of the 2. Not so easy when it's Walking Ballista and History of Benalia.
No, both of these cards, powerhouses in their own right. Walking Ballista we've seen doing a lot of work. Can certainly walk the walk since it was printed.
Can't talk the talk though.
No, it hasn't had its voice module activated just yet. Heart of Kirin, however, activated by Khan, Sign of Urza, down to 5 loyalty as the Planeswalker. With History of Benalia, well, maybe that'll be a little bedtime story that Khan can read us later on.
Oh, if that comes down next turn, you get a 2-2 Knight. Both of your Knight of Malice are suddenly 3-2 first strikers. Mm-hmm. That could actually be a huge turning point.
Attacking for 5 in 2 turns as well.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, why not, right?
Yeah. Keep him around till then. Whew, get in there. Knight Tribal. Just wait for it. It's coming, man.
First strike is just OP.
Yeah, it's pretty buster.
The main reason why Goblin Chainwhirler is so good.
It's a shame that the card has first strike. It really doesn't need it.
No, but I think it's a shame that it has a trigger that makes 1 toughness creatures unplayable.
If you could get rid of one of them?
Well, it wouldn't be a constructed rare if you take away the trigger. You could take away the first strike and it would still be a fine card to print. If you take away the enter the battlefield trigger, then you have to redesign the card somehow.
Yeah, it turns into a very, very unexciting rare there. But as it is, dominating standard, although we have seen the format sort of self-adjust a little bit. Thopter Arrest and a Plains off the top now to this second Karn activation. We'll see what Linares wants to do here. Plains is going to go upstairs, and the Thopter Arrest having a silver counter placed on it as well.
Actually, a bit surprised that Martin didn't just go straight for the History of Benalia, that white permanent, and the first step towards completing the saga.
Doomfall for Martin Hansen. Oh no. I guess now with that, Canyon Slayer is going to be able to activate or play at least one of these cards, but a Duress and an unlicensed Disintegration for Linares there. See what Hansen's next move is. 5 cards in hand. He's been slow to develop his board, but he's still in a pretty commanding position. In 4 again with the Heart of Kieran. Trading off that loyalty for damage.
And Leo very, very punished for not drawing the Black Source in time. Or
an untapped Black Source. Canyon Slayer just seems to be just about the worst card in his deck. The only time it ever seems good is when you're cycling it away.
Yeah, I should have cycled it. Should have drawn a swamp.
Yeah, cycle it into a swamp. Easy. Then still cast the Unlicensed Disintegration next turn. Linares now does have that Disintegration online, finally, at long last. Duress in hand also for him, but he's unable to play 2 of them unless he's drawn something like a Swamp or a Dragon Skull Summit this turn.
And he can feel the game slipping away from him. He hasn't been able to find attacks against the White-Black Benalia deck, which is just very strong once it gets onto the battlefield.
But Hansen hasn't done anything. This is the thing. He hasn't played anything that's been super oppressive or put a lot of pressure on Linares. He's just sort of gained value with his Khan. He's blocked with his, had his Knights there to block and.
Yeah, it's virtual card advantage. He has put up creatures that are just exceptionally at fighting with what the mono red deck has to offer, or the red black deck has to offer.
Well, something to snap for Leo Linares here, because he is now all out on the front foot, dances down the wicket, swishes around the willow, and we're going to see an activation of the Heart of Kieran. Linares will respond, you would think, with an unlicensed Disintegration. But right now, my friends, we are going to have to mute the stream as they announce the top 8.
Are you going to pause this? Rashad does it.
And we're back live now after that top 8 announcement. We do apologise for that brief and intended removal of sound there. Not wanting to spoil the outcome of any of the matches that we're getting across this round here during the Swiss before we get to the conclusion of it there. So after the dust has settled, 2 Knights of Malice still on the battlefield, but Linares has been cut down to size a little bit. That Heart of Kieran obviously bit the dust, but Khan Cynoverse is still alive and kicking here, Simon.
Yep, and even the life total is not really a problem for Hansen. And don't forget, he's up quite a few cards, thanks to Karn.
3 cards in hand here for him, and more if he wants them. Another Heart of Kieran to replace the one that went away, and 2 more cards off the toe. Well, no, okay. Well, he's going to have a think about it. Upstairs now.
Yeah, I really don't like the sequencing of doing everything else before the Karn activation. Well, that should be the first thing you do.
It's free, right? It's
exactly.
Free. It doesn't cost mana. You're not losing anything by doing it. You need to gain maximum information because, for example, maybe instead of playing that Ixalan's Binding, Martin Hansen would have preferred to play Gideon of the Trials and or Fatal Push.
Or imagine you reveal an Ixalan's Binding of your Karn. Leo doesn't want you to have it, so you get the other card.
And then Ixalan's Binding.
Then you cast Ixalan's Binding because you already had one.
Yeah,
so
just really teach him a lesson.
It's just strictly better to do it the other way around.
It's a little awkward that Hansen didn't take that line. In any case, right now he's kicking goals with both feet, and finally Those Knights are getting in for the full 3 points each. Linares down to 6. Can he find what he needs to hold on in this game, and indeed in this match, with Hansen having won game number 1?
Not looking too good. I don't think Duress does it.
Going to kick things off now by Cycling Canyon Slough. Oh, yeah. Pina the draw. An actual Blankski there. And let's have a look at what's going on. Going to be Gideon of the Trials hit by that duress, but Martin Hansen with a walking ballista in hand. He's got, I mean, to tell you what, there's more than one way to skin a cat, and there is more than one way for Leo Linares to be knocked out of contention here, because Martin Hansen, with all the goods.
One way being walking ballista for 3, crew my heart, shoot your Thopter, attack with everything. And that's it.
And that's it. So Hansen with lethal on board. Let's see if he finds the line. Just to repeat, Simon, crewing the heart with the Kana. We also have a fatal push at play here.
We also have a loyalty counter to crew the heart with.
Plenty of ways to do it. Oh, okay. Well, this is one way. Sure. All right. Ifnir Deadlands on the Thopter token, and that is that. Enough for Leo Linares to extend his hand, and Martin Hansen very tidily wins that game. He didn't take the line that we suggested, but got there in the end.
Oh, I mean, he had the win on board. He just had to decide for one of the many ways to get
one of the many ways, indeed, Simon. You are correct. Now, my friends, we do have the top 8 finalised, and that announcement will be coming your way once we have got things prepared. We're going to line up that bracket, assemble our champions, and figure out exactly what's going on. But to give us time to do that, we are going to go to a break. So stick around, everyone. On the other side of this, your top 8 for GP Copenhagen.